Hey Jack, you well?
I'm very good, Cal. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you, mate. Here we are filming another FCE pod, and I'm really looking forward to this one because it's our first boxer on.
Yeah, we've got our first boxer, Jack Bateson, is going to be joining us, and I've known Jack for a few years now, and he's just one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. And what I find so interesting about that, he looks the most. If you saw him in the street, you would never ever think he's a boxer, and then he steps through the rings, and he becomes probably the most vicious and sort of spiteful person you'll kind of ever meet. But he's a lovely, lovely guy, and he's making real sort of movements in the game. He boxed for GB. I think he's just turned over professional. He's had 11 fights. Trained by his dad as well, which is a really interesting dynamic. His dad and his uncle. So we're going to get him on. We're going to chat a little bit about his career, fighting for Team GB, been in and around the likes of Anthony Joshua and some other huge names in the game. And we're just going to find out a little bit what makes him tick and how does he get up for those big fights.
Sounds exciting. Let's get him on.
Let's do it.
Jack, thank you for joining the FC podcast. We really appreciate this. First boxer, so really exciting. I just want to kick off. There's been a few famous father-son boxing duos. You've always got the Mayweathers, the Eubanks.
Yeah.
So was it always your dad's ambition as soon as you were born to throw you a pair of gloves and get you in the ring?
Yeah, I think for most kids, growing up, it's football, rugby. Whereas myself, my dad was a coach, my uncle was a coach. It's all I've ever really known, and I was interested in football and whatnot. But my brother was the one who was the boxer. He was 3 years older than me, and my dad got him involved, and I think all the sort of focus on boxing side of things was on him. I was always in and out of the gym as a youngster, but I was never that fussed for it until he packed in at about the age of 11, 12, 13. So he just wasn't really cut out for it. And then my dad used to always say to me, "Oh, do you fancy coming to the gym? Do you fancy coming to the gym?" Anyway, after saying no, I gave in and I went with him. And before I knew it, like, I had the bug, and it seems like it's all just been a flash. And I'm here now. It's crazy, really.
So what age was that, Jack? You really sort of got.
I started properly. Yeah, I was 9.
Okay.
I started properly at 9, and I started really giving it a good go. And then, once I got involved, I had my first fight at 11, and I was representing England at the age of 12. So from there, It was like, wow. It was just sort of like I got the bug and I couldn't stop.
So as an early teenager, you're obviously spending a lot of time in the gym with your dad. What does a typical week look like? How many hours are you having to put into boxing?
So I train 6 days a week, Monday to Saturday, 2 sessions a day. So I'd say a couple of hours on a morning, maybe an hour if I'm just going for a run. And then later on that evening or whatever I'm doing, it'll be another couple of hours. So there's that, but I think it's outside of the ring, whether you're selling tickets and you've got a fight coming up, or whether you're just sort of living a healthy lifestyle. It can be pretty like isolated. So that's why I've found, like, obviously this whole lockdown situation hasn't been too different to what it usually is, other than not having a fight day.
And your dad, so as you say, you've had your dad as your coach from the age of 9 to what are you now, 26? Just turned 26. Yeah, 26 your birthday the other day. Yeah. Happy birthday again.
Thank you.
So you've had sort of 17 years or so, just being you and your dad. How many times have you fallen out over that period?
Oh, I could not count.
Really?
Not count. But yeah, the thing is, it's like, I think that's why I involved my uncle a lot more, because, there's a little bit more of a respect thing there. Not that I don't respect my dad.
Of course, yeah.
Respect, but when things get a little bit tough and you can just niggle at each other. Yeah. It's not even just me. He can niggle at me. Like, what he might not say to one of his other boxers, he could easily snap and turn to me. Like, there's times I've been in the ring sparring, and 10 seconds into the spar, like, I might get caught with like the first shot or whatever, and I'll just go. and I'll just turn out the ring, like, in the middle of the spar, and we'll just. But most days are good, but there's the odd day where we can both get on each other's back, and it is tough. But we get by, and I appreciate everything he's done. And without him, I won't be anywhere in the sport. So I am thankful.
So have you always been able to resolve those arguments pretty quickly, or you had instances where it's lasted a week of not talking to your father?
To be fair, it's usually resolved in about an hour. I think
Good
one of
stuff.
us either realises, and we just say sorry or whatever. But
Yeah.
at the time, it feels like it's the end of the world. It's like, right, that's it. That's it. And we get someone else in. But no, we're genuinely, we're like, for 99% of the time, we're good with each other, and we work really well together. It's just that 1%.
Of course,
Brilliant.
of course. So, Jack, you mentioned about sort of maybe you started boxing for England at the age of 11 or 12, was it? You then your career, you've had a huge amount of amateur fights, haven't you? You've over 100 amateur fights, I believe.
Yeah, about 120 odd.
Yeah, and then you then got onto the GB team as well, a bit later on. What was that like, and how does that come about?
It's really good. Like I said, I mean, I had my first fight for England at 12 years old against Ireland, which I lost by a point. That was my first ever loss in the game. I think I had about 13, 14 fights, then I lost my first fight for England. And that was like a big turning point for me because I was sort of just boxing was boxing for me. I was going and, training hard and whatever, but not really giving it much thought until I lost, which really upset me. I think I remember I was gutted. I was in tears on the way home and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's what woke me up and made me realise how much I did enjoy the sport and how much I wanted it. And then from then on, I'd win national titles, and then box for England. And until I was about 17, I got a call up for a Team GB trial, and I think there was about 60 of us that went in for the trial. And then it got put down to 30, and then it was like 15 each time you go back. And then I think 4 of us got on. One of the other lads was Pat McCormack, Isaac McLeod, and a lad called Robbie McKechnie. I think they're all still boxing now, and Pat's absolutely killing it in the amateur game at the minute. So yeah, it all happened very quickly, and I had 6 years on the GB squad from 17 onwards, and yeah, it's all flown, to be honest.
Yeah. So just about that trial, how does that work? 'Cause obviously, if you're going to, I mean, I've been involved in football trials over the years and what have you, and it's just you end up having sort of small-sided games or an 11-a-side game, and so the coach can see everything. How does that work? Is it just a bit of time on the pads, a bit of time on the bag, and they just look at you that way, and then a few spars? Is it, or how does it work?
So I think it was like a Thursday to Sunday thing, or Friday to Sunday. I can't remember what it was. So you're there for a couple of days.
Okay.
They're seeing how how you react when we were in Sheffield, we'd have to live there when we're on camp. So I think they're sort of judging what you'll be like. So whether you're a bit of a bad boy or whatnot, you might go and they'd weigh you every morning. So what happened is you'd wake up on a morning, you'd go get weighed. They'd see if you managed your weight well, if you was dieting or whatnot. So they'd take that into consideration. But then they'd see how you do on your run. So some people are great fighters, but they can't run. So they're clearly, they're just naturally gifted, but they're not always the fittest because they don't put the work in. So they'd measure that. And then you'd go in the gym. I think we had a session at lunchtime, which was strength and conditioning. So you do your run, you add your strength and conditioning, see how we get on in that. And then obviously the most important bit is the boxing gym later on that evening. You'd spar. So the other lads that were on selection around your weight, you'd spar with them to see who was getting the better or whatnot. And just see how you worked as a team as well, really. I think they take everything into consideration, I think to, travel abroad and whatnot and fight in these tournaments. So it was different because, the lads that were probably sometimes the best didn't always act, and didn't always act as well as they could have done. And some of them didn't get on. But the ones that, it didn't. If you were a good boxer, you were going to get on at the end of the day. So I think some people just got away with it, and some didn't, and they'd probably see a bit of, a character in someone and think, oh, this kid could be really good. He might not be the best, but he does everything else really well, and they'd maybe put them on. You know what I mean?
Throughout that trial, Jack, you mentioned a football trial, and if you have a football trial, you're having a good game or not. Throughout your boxing trial, did you know how well you were doing? Or was it really hard to judge?
Yeah, you could sort of tell, but it was different because you felt a lot of pressure. You probably weren't able to relax as well as you would usually. I mean, I remember being like on the bags and stuff and thinking, right, I've got to go 100 miles an hour. and just proper grafting, which it makes you graft, but you don't always. I'm one of those, like, I will really overthink stuff, and I remember being back in my room that night thinking, I hope I did this well, I hope I did that well. So it's a funny one, really, but you can usually, like you said, you can tell how well you've done if you get in a spar. You usually know if you've won the spar or not.
Yeah.
So it's quite important getting it right on the day, as well as, not just, which I suppose is why they sort of narrowed it down each time and got you back a few times, just in case you had an off day or whatever.
And what was it like, Jack? Obviously, I've been up to that. I've been up to the EIS at Sheffield.
Yeah.
It's an incredible facility, and
Yeah,
particularly the boxing part of it is amazing. So you were up there with the elite, the best of the best in Great Britain. What was that like? Learning, one, from the fighters, but secondly, your dad wasn't around. You were learning from different coaches. What was that like?
It was a tough one, to be honest. I mean, I wasn't always the best back then at, being one of the lads, getting involved and whatnot. So I just sort of kept myself to myself. And there was also the lads that was thinking, oh, right, what should we do tonight? And, some people would leave the rooms. I think we were staying in the E-Tap on the trials. Yeah. So it was like a little naff hotel. And they were saying, right, let's go out and do this and that. Go to KFC, go to McDonald's or whatever. And it was deciding whether you stayed in or you went out and woke up the next day and you was heavy or whatever. So it was tough, but, I'd ring my dad at the end of the night and he'd be like, how did you do? He'd be quite keen, and I'd be like, yeah, no, I did all right and stuff, and just sort of stayed focused. And then, when it was time to go home at the end, you were just relieved that it was done, you know what I mean? And then you're waiting for your letter then.
Yeah. And when you was up on when you made the squad and you was up there, there was some also, it was mainly an amateur gym, but there was a couple of big pros up there at the time.
Yeah.
You probably caught the end of Carl Froch's career, didn't you?
Yeah,
and then the start of AJ.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think when I got on there, Carl was, involved in the big fights, the likes of Groves and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I remember speaking to him a couple of times in the changing rooms, and, he was real nice guy. I mean, I know a lot of people have got opinions on Froch, but he was a genuine nice guy. And then obviously AJ, as I got on, it was just before 2012, and again, just a genuine nice guy, and everything you see is what you get with AJ. And some people think it's just for the cameras or whatnot, but it's genuinely he is a real nice guy, and what you see is what you get.
And is he as much of a monster as he looks on the TV?
Yeah, the guy's a beast. When you first go in there, like, I remember you see like as an amateur, I was seeing these in like top amateur tournaments. These people, the likes of like your Tom Stalker, your Luke Campbell and whatnot, and seeing them, you're a bit like, I want to be there one day. But you realise that they are just what. They're not much different from you. They've just achieved, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it just makes you believe that, it is a little bit more accomplishable, from seeing them do it.
It's being around those characters. I imagine you learn a lot.
Of course. Yeah.
Cool. So I think your ambition, I mean, I've known you for 5 or 6 years. We first met. And, I remember you telling me then how much your sort of career ambition at that time was to get to the 2016 Olympics in Rio. And it didn't quite work out for you, Jack. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I got on just before 2012, and that 2012 was way too soon for me, and it was like no chance really. So everyone was always 2016. This is the lad for 2016. I got on the Sky scholarships and stuff, and everything looked perfect. Until 2016 sort of came about, and there was the trials and whatnot, and at the time, like, I felt a little bit hard done by Team GB, to be honest. I never really got the opportunity. It was all sort of there for me, but I never really had the opportunity to even qualify. I mean, a lad got put in front of me I think he was on the development squad at the time. And he got sort of fast-tracked, put onto the podium squad, and then into the qualifiers. Once he qualified, then it was like my chance was complete write-off. But before that, we were actually supposed to fight each other in the GB Boxing Championships, and that was supposed to be like a decider.
Yeah.
Which would have been fair. If I'd have got beat and he'd have gone to the qualifiers, that'd have been absolutely fine. If I'd have won, I'd have gone to the qualifiers, and there's a little bit more sense behind it then, rather than just choosing someone.
Yeah.
So he pulled out of the GB Championships, and then I thought, oh, that's it now. I'm going to get selected for these qualifiers, but it didn't work out like that for whatever reason. He went to the Olympics, got beat, and then got found positive for testing on the first ever boxer from Team GB to get tested positive for PEDs. So
yeah,
it was a strange one, really. And when I actually found out that he did get caught on PEDs, I wasn't actually that bothered. I think once all the Olympics and whatnot was done, it's as much as my whole career has sort of depended on it, being a youngster. When it actually did happen and it had all been forgotten about, I wasn't that bothered. I mean, at the time it was heartbreaking and I thought it was the end of the world, but once it was all been and gone, history, it's all past. So now it's sort of looking forward.
I think that's a really great point, because obviously that disappointment for you at that age was huge. Do you feel that fueled the rest of your career? Has that inspired you to go, I'm going to just prove everyone wrong?
I do think it has, and I feel like I was one of those, like, every fight I had, I would think about it probably too much, and I'd feel like my life depended on winning. Whereas after the Olympics, I realised that it wasn't the be all and end all. Like, if boxing ended tomorrow, there's life beyond boxing, and it's made me be a little bit more relaxed about it. But it has inspired me too at the same time to sort of, if I'd have gone to the Olympics and did well or not did well, maybe I wouldn't have been as inspired to go into the pros and do well. So it definitely has given me a bit of fuel to the fire, and it makes me want to achieve now, obviously, in the pros and prove people wrong.
I think it's a great attitude.
I completely agree, mate. I think you then, after that sort of 2016 disappointment, you then sort of crossed over and you turned pro. Was that decision, as soon as the Olympics didn't quite happen, was that always going to be the case that you were going to turn over?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I remember speaking to Rob McCracken at the time, and I told him, I wanted to sort of leave GB once my term was done and stuff. And I think at the time he was actually speaking to me about the ABAs, and he says, "Right, Jack," he pulled me to one side and he says, "So the ABAs are coming up. This was 2017, and he goes, we're going to seed you number one and put you in for us." And I had to stop him, and I said, "Rob," I says, "I've been meaning to speak to you. I mean, I don't want to continue with the amateurs anymore." And he completely understood. And he said, "The pro game's tough, He said, "It's not like the amateurs." And he was sort of trying to persuade me against it. And he was sort of saying, it's tough. It's not for everyone. And I says, "I'm going to give it a go." I said, "We'll have a bit of a break, but I just wanted to obviously let you know first." And he was completely fine. I left GB on good terms, all the great coaches and whatnot. And then first things first, I had a break, went on holiday with the lads, like just enjoyed life that I've missed out on for the last 10 years or whatever, actually enjoyed myself. And once that was out my system, I was like, boom, right, Dad, get my license, whatnot. And I fought 2017, I fought in September, and I had 3 fights then before the end of the year, and sort of got moving quite quickly.
And that first fight, Jack, I think it was at Ellen Road, wasn't it? And
in
how
the
does that?
Pavilion, yeah.
That's it. You're from Leeds. Leeds have got they really kind of sort of back their own, don't they? What was that like, walking out in front of a home crowd for your first pro fight?
It was unreal. Like, you think and dream about it all your life, but the turnout that came out for it was unbelievable. And I mean, I had Josh Warrington walk me out. This was before he even won the world title. He came down, and he was just coming down to watch. And I said, I got my dad to speak to him and said, "Will you walk Jack out? It'd be good, a good well-seasoned pro walk Jack out, especially at Ellen Road in Leeds." So he walked me out to the ring. It was really good. I had a massive turnout. I got the win in the first round. I think my opponent had like 7 fights. won 6, lost 1. So for a debut, he had a decent little resume, to be honest. Yeah. So it was good. It's one that'll stick with me forever. But and then once you get started, then it's just like boom. Especially my first 2 years, I had loads of fights, so it was all quite quick.
How much difference is it, Jack? Take them head guards off, smaller gloves. People talk about those smaller gloves. Do they make a difference?
Yeah, massively. I mean, the head guard situation, because in the amateurs they came off a little bit before, so I had a bit of experience with that. But the glove situation, like in the amateurs, the gloves are just like bricks. You when you make your fish, you're not even really like that. Your hands are a bit like that because they're really stiff.
Yeah.
Whereas in the pros, they're just mitts. And I think it was my second fight, I actually fractured my hand.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd maybe just damaged it and it was bruised or swollen or whatever. I had my first 5 fights with this injured hand after the second fight. And anyway, I went to get it checked out and they said, "Oh, you fractured your hand, but it's recovered now." So I've got like a lump where it's recovered. So yeah, these gloves, you can feel everything as well. So it doesn't matter who you're against, anyone can get clipped in the pros. So it makes a massive difference. And I think that was probably the biggest shock out of everything, turning pro.
Yeah.
So I just want to touch on the mental preparation required for boxing. If you're a footballer, a rugby player, you train during the week and then the matches come thick and fast. It's not quite the same for boxing. You have a lot of time to think about it and mentally prepare. How do you actually go about
that? It's a funny one, really, because like you say, you've got such a long time to, most of my camps have been 8, 9, 10 weeks, and to actually prepare, it's just a big build-up, and you can put a lot of. I tend to put a lot of pressure on myself sometimes because it is such a big build-up. It's all building up to this one night. But the way I've sort of looked at it recently is just my brother once said to me, I remember going to one of the AJ fights, I think it was against Brazil, and the crowd was electric, and then he said, it's all just a mirage, really. Like he says, if you look at the audience and whatnot, Joshua trains every day, he goes sparring, he walks to the ring, gets in the ring, spars someone, and then that's his day done. That is pretty much what you're doing on fight night. You're getting warmed up, you're getting gloved up, walk into the ring, and you do your business, and that's it. And that's how I've tried to look at it since I turned pro. There's times where I'm sat there, and my music comes on, and I stand up and get ready to walk out. That is what I'm thinking, to try and keep me a little bit calmer, and not panic too much. Like, it is all a mirage. At the end of the day, I do this every day, and I have done all my life, and it's just sort of trying to block out all that madness going on in the background.
That's a great way of looking at it.
But it's nice. It's nice. But you've pretty much boxed in Leeds for the 10 fights. Is it 10 fights you've had now, Jack?
Yeah, I've had 11 now.
11 now. So those 11 fights, they've pretty much all been in Leeds. Is that right? So it's nice having that. It must be nice having that home support.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like, from all them years as an amateur, going to Kazakhstan, wherever these third world countries, and boxing in sports halls and school halls and whatnot, and then coming home to fighting my hometown with my city behind me, who do well and truly get behind me. It's special, and it's I can appreciate a lot more. Having been to all these times where I had no one there, not even my parents and whatnot. So it's really good.
It's amazing that you've obviously, you touched on it earlier, but Josh Warrington at the moment at the very, very top of his game, is a world champion from Leeds. I mean, that's helping, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's no doubt. Like, if it weren't for Josh, being world champion right now, I wouldn't have had these chances to box on his undercards at the likes of Ellen Road Football Stadium. One of my dreams ticked off there straight away in like my 6th fight. First direct arena, twice, three times I think I fought there now. So it's been great to pick up these experiences. Seeing him do it just makes me want to do it all the more. I've known Josh since he was a kid, and it just makes me believe I can do it even more now.
What's the next 1-2 years look like for you? Obviously, we're in a funny situation at the moment.
Yeah.
Where do you hope to be in sort of 18 months, 2 years' time?
I'd like to think I'll be a British Commonwealth sort of title level. and soon as boxing gets back underway, I'd love to be back in title contention. I mean, if I can get a fight in behind closed doors, which is possible whilst this is all happening, before the end of the year, 6 or 8 rounds or whatever, and then jump into a good title fight or whatever early next year, I feel like in 2 years' time, there's no reason why I couldn't be British and Commonwealth champion or something like that. I mean, that's the aim anyway.
And do you want to go down that traditional route, Jack, of winning maybe an area title, English title, British title, and then move on to the Commonwealth and World?
I would like to, yeah. I mean, it would be lovely to, I mean, my dad has always been a big fan of the British title. I'd love to win the title for him and of course myself. But it really does depend, what opportunities are available for me at the time. I mean, I'm not too fussed which route I go down. I just think that's probably the more likely route for me to go down is the British, Commonwealth, and work my way up. But if the opportunities come, they come, and I'd be happy either way.
There's some big well-known names though, isn't there, in the division? You obviously got Gamal Yafai, Lucian Reed, obviously Gav McDonnell if he comes back. So there's some big names and well-known names and established pros, if you like, in your weight category.
There is, there's some top lads, and I've sparred with probably most of them, and know most of them. I mean, Gamal's a good friend, and as is Gavin. I've been up there, sparred Jamie a few times and whatnot, and it is a great division, and there's a lot probably coming up as well. Not just that are already there now, and I think around super bantam featherweight division, there is some serious fights to be had, and right now they are the hot divisions at the minute, and I feel like I could do well in both. So it is exciting time. As soon as things get back to normal, it will be very exciting.
And how much does a fighter take from, if you've had spars and you say you always know whether you've won the spar or not? How much do you take from those sparring sessions? Obviously, everyone says it's a completely different game in a gym compared to a proper fight. As you say, the gloves are different for a start. But how does that? Did you take a bit of confidence from a spar if you were going to go and fight someone in a ring?
Yeah, you definitely do. I think you can usually tell if you've got someone's number a little bit. Like you said, it's different with the gloves and on the night. I mean, some people are gym fighters, some people are, seem to shine on the night. But you can definitely take a little bit of confidence in sort of, if you've had someone's number once, then you can probably do it again, unless they really drastically change what they're going to do, or they are completely just terrible in the gym. Then you can really take a lot of confidence. I mean, I've always seem to take a lot of confidence from when I've had a good spar or whatever, and there's times where I've sparred someone and then fought them, and there hasn't been too much difference in what goes on. So I suppose you can do,
Amazing. And you're fighting that division, as you say, is full of pack fighters. Is it 122-pound division? I mean, how do you get down to that weight? I mean, that is 55 kilos. I mean, I don't know how you do it. Tell us a bit about that.
Oh, it's tough. That is the worst bit. That is honestly the worst bit. I mean, any boxer will tell you that dieting is probably the hardest part. But I suppose that's what makes some fighters the full package or not. It's just for me, it's been nice because I've had 8-10 week camps or whatever, and you can gradually bring it down. But I couldn't. There's dieting and trying to fuel yourself. Like I got a nutritionist on board last year, David Stash, and I realised like before he was on board, I would just sort of cut carbs, and I'd be in the gym and I'd be dying. Like a couple of rounds would go by and I'd literally be running off no fuel. Whereas once I got him on board, he had me completely the opposite. He'd have me eating more than I've usually ever eaten, even on the fight week, just so that I could work harder and burn that off.
Oh, really? Well.
And then you do a water cut. Say you're weighing in the day before, you can do a water cut then. So you can when you're on the scales, you're in no condition to fight whatsoever. You're completely drained. But then once you've got all your electrolytes and fluids and food back in, you've probably put half a stone on within an hour, probably in
Really?
liquid.
Wow.
But when it's on the day, you've got to be a little bit more measured then, and a bit more sensible. So if I was fighting on the day, I'd probably fight about 8 pounds heavier than what I would usually fight if I was weighing in the day before.
Yeah.
Because that is the difference in what you can probably do in water within less than 24 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a strange one. There's a lot of science behind it.
Absolutely. I know you're not Ricky Hatton. You don't balloon between fights. I've seen you're always in shape. But what's the one cheat meal, Jack, after the fight? What's your go-to?
See, my go-to is probably either like a Chinese or just like a Five Guys burger or something. But with me, I'm an all or nothing person. So when I'm in camp, I'm 8 to 10 weeks of just tunnel vision, diet, just on water. Whereas if I've got a bit of leniency, if someone gives me 2 weeks off, I'm probably going to be pretty bad for those 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
I think it's deserved, mate. I think it's deserved.
Yeah. So it's a funny one, really, but I'm probably going to end up a big lad once I'm finished with boxing. I'm pretty sure.
Ricky Hatton style on the Guinnesses.
Yeah.
Probably worse.
I want to know, it's going right back to something you said in the middle. What was that lad's holiday that you binged on when you're having that break?
I only went to Malta because I've got a bit of family over there, but I went over with 2 lads and just had a good time. Enjoyed a bit of naughty fluid. And just lived a bit of normal life for a bit and just appreciated it. But it was nice to get out of my system, because then I was just like, this ain't for me, you know what I mean? Like I know what I want in life then, and you can sort of put your foot down and not think about what you are missing out on.
Decent. Naughty fluid, I'm going to use that going forward.
Naughty fluid.
You've had a few of them, Cal.
Use that, to be honest. It just came to mind.
I like that. I'm going to use it. So Jack, really appreciate it. I just want to finish on the FCE question. So we run events at sporting events, and what we try and do is do an end-to-end service for our customers, so they don't have to think of anything. If we could take you to any sporting event in the world, what would be your one killer event?
Any sporting event. To be fair, I know this is going to sound mad, because it would have to be one of the big, sort of like a massive fighter, like whether it be boxing or UFC. I love watching UFC as much as I do boxing sometimes, and like a big stadium, like your MGM or something like that would be unbelievable. I mean, amazing. I've never been to all like it, but I couldn't really think of much else, to be honest. I mean, I like going to Ellen Road and stuff, but other than that, it'd have to be one of the big fights.
We have people on this podcast that answer that question all the time, and I said to Cal the other day that we never actually give our one of what our one would be, and I said I made up I'd love to see Joshua Tyson Fury in Vegas. I know it'd probably happen in the UK, but let's get it in Vegas, full day on the beers early, and then off to a club in Vegas after. I think that would be my dream.
It would be one of that. It'd be unreal. But like you say, it's either probably going to end up over here or somewhere like in the
Saudi again.
Saudi, yeah. So, but
yeah, I'm kind of hoping it is in the UK now, because if not, it's going to be an expensive one for FCE sending you out to Vegas.
Yeah.
Come on, Jack, quick one on probably. That. Fury, Joshua. Who's your pick? I know Joshua's your mate, but come on.
Yeah, no. I've been asked this a few times, and even just off pals. I mean, I've had the argument with my brother the other day, who was picking Fury all day, and I said Joshua because I think my reason behind it is just that Joshua, when you look at Wilder, like he can't box Wilder, like he just got completely schooled by Fury, whereas Joshua can box but he can punch. So the chances of Joshua landing are a lot more likely than what they are Wilder. And I just think styles make fights as well. So I really think, it will shine against Fury, and let's just hope it happens, because
we've got to pray it happens.
Yeah.
I think it will. I think it might be a couple of fights down the line, with the whole Fury Wilder rematch clause thing and whatnot, but I think it will.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Jack.
Really appreciate that. Thanks a lot for coming.